Hi everyone, welcome back to Mel Did It Herself. Today I'm just gonna do a video where I go over the things that really annoy me about selling furniture online. And the things that are useful too, that you can do that aren't annoying, okay? I'm gonna give you the do's and don'ts of buying furniture online. And I'm also gonna be making another video that's the do and don'ts of selling furniture online, because I'm not just all about the negativity. We're gonna bring in the good things and tips for selling, but as a buyer of furniture, there's some things that you should be doing and avoid doing, because especially for people who are not just selling a random thing one time on Facebook Marketplace, these are things that if you're selling a lot of things, you could be encountering multiple times in a day, and they add up, okay? Especially depending on the kind of day that person's already having. Sometimes it's annoying, okay? I'm just gonna say it. So anyways, these are the do's and don'ts of buying furniture online. So I'm gonna preface all this with, let's contextualize it. So I live in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. So things might look different by the way that I do things compared to how you do it, and that's fine. I often only post my things on Facebook Marketplace. So I'm gonna be coming from that kind of perspective of selling things on Facebook Marketplace. But I have used Kijiji in the past, and I never really used Craigslist or anything. We don't really have a lot of other mediums other than Etsy, for example, which I've never done. So you might have, different platforms based on where you live in the world. But I'm coming from Facebook Marketplace primarily as my experience. And so number one, if you're buying things on Facebook Marketplace, so some of the do's, I wrote a list. So, okay, where do I want to begin? So I'm a buyer and I go through the list. I find something that I want to buy or to explore buying. When you're sending a message, be concise and avoid as much back and forth as you can. If you have questions, as a seller, I appreciate it more if you come to me with them all up front. So for example, if you're curious if the thing's still available, but then also you're gonna ask to negotiate the price, or you have a question about the dimensions, don't just say, hi, is this piece available? Say, hi, if this piece is still available, I was curious of what blah, 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 or I was curious if you would accept this amount of money. Because if you're saying, hi, is this still available? I'm getting, number one, excited that maybe I'm about to sell it. Number two, if I have multiple people asking that, I personally like to go in a first come, first serve basis. So now a little asterisk in that I won't just, because you messaged me first and then we went back and forth for 3 weeks because I was waiting for your reply, I'm not gonna consider you necessarily the first if someone's really responsive and willing to pick up right away. But I do try and be considerate about that. So if you can avoid as much back and forth as possible, that's gonna be better for both of us in the end if you're actually interested in buying this thing. So say, hi, if this is still available, which if you're messaging me it is, because I remove it immediately if it's sold, blah, blah, blah. These are the things I'm wondering. So number one, compile your thoughts. Number two, if you are interested in buying it, say, great, I'll take it. Or something that is telling me that you are committed to buying this thing. Also, say, great, I would like it. I could come pick it up, blah, 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 blah. In my ads, I always say, pick up only in this, I give a general area of where I live. So people know, if they live on the other side of the city, what they're getting into in terms of picking it up. So if you're, ready to take this thing, say, great, I'd love to take it. I'm available to pick up in the evenings after 6. Is there a certain day that works for you? Or I'm not gonna be in the city until this date. Are you willing to hold it? Those kinds of things. Number one, tell me that you're for sure interested in taking the thing because you're making plans to come and get it. And again, you're just avoiding the back and forth, saying, hi, or saying, yeah, I'll take it. I'm great. when would you like to pick it up, or when are you available? Like, just avoid the back and forth. That's going to be like the overarching thing. Just like say what you mean and get shit done. Like, let's avoid all this back and forth. Like, I got things to do. So, the next piece to that is if you determine that there's a date and time that you'll pick it up, I usually say, let me know roughly when you'd like to come and grab it. Like, give me like a, it'll be after 6 on this day or something. Because I'm currently, especially with COVID, I just put the piece out on the porch and I let the people know that it's covered, it's removed from the elements, but I make sure that it's out there, 15, 20 minutes prior, just in case they're running a little bit early. So if you're running late or you're unable to pick it up because something comes up, I'm super understanding of that. Life happens. But message me and tell me so my piece isn't sitting outside for 6 hours. If it's, a moist day, like those things can affect the finish or the thing, whatever that might be. If it's super cold out, those kinds of things. And I know that you're not coming, I'll bring it back in for a few hours and bring it out when you say you'll be able to be by. Or another day, like, don't just be scared that I'm gonna like not sell it to you, I guess, and avoid being upfront. Like, I don't know, I guess that is the overarching thing, is I'm just upfront and I'm like, give me all the information you have when you have it. Let's not let's avoid this like back and forth, like the niceties. Like, let's just get to the point and get it done. So if you're gonna be late, send them a message and say, hey, I'm so sorry, I'm running late, or something came up and I can't make it today, but I am committed to coming and getting it tomorrow if you're willing to hold it, like that kind of thing. I'm always, for the most part, if we have a plan for when you're going to pick it up, I'm willing to hold it. If it's in many days later, I might ask for a deposit, but obviously different person to person, but it doesn't hurt to explore that and to be nice and not waste someone's time. Because also, say you're coming to get in 20 minutes and I'm like, okay, this thing will be sold in the next hour at the most. But I have plans to leave the house after that. Like, I want to keep an eye on the piece and know that someone's not going to pull up and take it off my porch that isn't the buyer. So I'm planning my life around you coming too. So just be aware of that. Be mindful of people's time. Another thing that I always do as a seller, is request nicely a review after the person picks up the piece. I say, thanks so much. Hope you enjoy it. If you would be willing to, I'd love if you'd leave me a rating. I explain where they can do that. I'm like, it's usually at the top of this, or I found a way that you can actually send a thing that requests a rating from that person. I say, I sell pieces on here often, and it lets people know that I'm a trusted buyer. I'd really appreciate it if you left me a rating. Everyone always says yes. I don't know whether they do or not because they're anonymous ratings, but I have more ratings now, so I'm assuming they're doing it. And as a buyer, especially on Facebook Marketplace, all you're doing is leaving a star rating and, what does this person do well? And it takes maybe 16 seconds out of your day, and it really helps me and people who are considering buying something from me know that I've had successful sales in the past, and it shows that I'm a trusted buyer. So just please do it. I really appreciate it. It goes further for me than it does to take out from your day, If you are a buyer and I have the dimensions posted in my ad, just please find yourself a ruler, a measuring stick, a tape measure, and measure your space and make sure that it's gonna fit. I've never had it that somebody buys a piece and then takes it home and finds out it doesn't fit. But I have had it where people have been going back and forth with a negotiation and then determining a pickup time, or if they're, they get all the things lined up and then they say, oh, actually I just measured and it's not gonna fit, sorry. To me, when I'm buying things online, especially when that information is readily available to me, before I even message, oh, my brain just reset there. Before I message the seller, I'm gonna be measuring my space to make sure that this is even a possibility. Before I even care about the fact if it's still available or not, let me just see if it's something that's something that I could actually put into my space, right? Am I serious about this? So measure. And ask your partner too. If you're again, I've had someone go back and forth and do all the things and then say, oh, actually, I just asked my partner and it's not their vibe, so we're gonna pass, thanks so much. Come on, guys. again, you're wasting my time a little bit. Like, I'm happy to waste some time if it's like if it's something worth wasting it for. I don't know, is that horrible? But like, understandable things, but things, if you can be proactive, just do it, please. Just please do it. And then also another thing that I really love, and this isn't a thing that you have to do, but it's the thing that I'm hoping that you'll take with you, is to, once you bring it home and put it in your space and you get all set up and you're all excited for your furniture piece, the best thing for me as a refinisher is the excitement of someone coming to get a new thing to put in their space, and oh, I'm so excited to give it a new home. Like, I love that shit. And I've had clients then send me a picture of it in their space, and I love that personally, just because it's like I get to see it in its new home and it's living its new life, and it's just lovely. And then it's also exciting to see how excited they are about the new piece and getting it set up, and they get it all staged and stuff, and it's just so cute to me. So if you're a buyer, do that. It would probably make their day. And worst case, they'll just be like, cool, man. They're just randomly selling a piece of furniture, but what's it gonna do? They're not gonna you're not gonna offend them. So yeah, it's just a nice touch. And I would never ask people to send me it, because that feels kind of weird to be like, send me a picture of your space. But when people do, I always appreciate it. And then I sometimes ask if they feel comfortable with me sharing that on my social media as well, because I like showing that too, my pieces into the spaces. Same with if a client gives me a really good review or sends me a message after saying how much they love it or whatever. Same thing, I'll ask if I can use that in my social media, because it's just nice to know that there's happy campers out there and happy customers. Okay, so then these are the things not to do, and it's because I've had them happen to me, and so they're just a little nitpicky, but we're gonna add them anyways. So context of how I go about selling my pieces is, we determine a date, time that'll be it. I say, okay, perfect. Especially with the pandemic, but probably even post-pandemic, I'll do it this way because it's just easier. I don't need to be waiting by the window. I say, let me know roughly a time. I'll put it out on the porch and I'll be waiting for you. If it's a heavy piece, I'll say, make sure you have two people, have another person with you, as it is heavy, or even if it's awkward and long and just too long for somebody to waddle with. I get a pretty good read of that because I move all the stuff for the most part myself, especially if my partner's not available to help me. So I'll let them know ahead of time so they have a good idea of what's needed. And I'll say, make sure you have another person, because it can be awkward and that kind of stuff. And I say too, I give them either my email if they want to do e-transfer, or I say, wondering if I should say this, but yeah, you don't know where I live. I say leave the money in the mailbox and I'll get it, if it's cash. And so really there's no reason that we need to be interacting in person when that person gets there. And I'm a little bit of an introvert, so maybe I'm just rolling with that a little bit too much. The pandemic has really let me live my best life, my best introverted life. But I'll say, it's out there. Feel free to grab it. Send the e-transfer once you get it, and send me the password. I'm not gonna be standing there waiting for the transfer to come through before they leave. There's a bit of a trust system there, but I've never, knock on wood, I've never been wronged by going that way, and I think a little bit of trust in kind of a business relationship is healthy. So if we have that predetermined understanding of the process, don't ring the doorbell when you get here to take it and have me have to come stop what I'm doing and go and open it. I'm happy to interact with customers. I don't want to get that I don't want to put that thought or idea out there that I'm not happy to chit chat with someone, because absolutely I am. And a lot of my customers that I've had have ended up being repeat customers, which is all you can ask for. But I've had people also just not ring the doorbell. Specifically, it's just one time that it really kind of grinded my gears, because it was later at night and I was in the garage working with my AirPods in and working on another piece, and the person had their kid with them to help them carry it. And I think it was the kid maybe that did it. So grain of salt, but they kind of like did one of these like doorbell rings, like frantic. And my partner was downstairs, I think, working on something or whatever. And he came up and answered the door, and he didn't know that we had a pickup scheduled. So he was just like, hello, can I help you? And then I didn't hear this happening because I had my AirPods in the garage. So he's just like, you have someone at the door? And then they're just like, oh, hi, just letting you know we're here. And I'm like, thanks for letting me know. Like I was nice, I wasn't rude, but it was just like kind of, I don't know, it was a strange interaction, I guess, for me. So you can send them a message and say, I got it, thanks. But also I'm aware of when you're gonna be coming, and I'm keeping an eye on the fact that there's a piece of furniture sitting on my porch or not, I guess, is the way that I'm gonna go with that. But just stick to the process that's predetermined. But if you need help, or you want to chit chat, or you have questions about the piece, or you just want to like meet the maker, then absolutely, by all means. But also, I guess, consider what time of day it is, and if people are like, and we could have been in bed at that time, it was late at night anyways. So that's a very like specific thing, but it happens, so be aware of it. So another thing is that in my ads, I often put the first sentence as, if this ad is still up, it's still available, just to avoid, like I said, needless back and forth. I like to put as much information in my ads as possible. I have a distinct description of what the item is, what the color is, what it looks like, if it's true to color based on the photos, the dimensions are explicitly mentioned, the area that I'm in, the fact that it needs to be picked up. Like, these are all things I try to be as thorough with my ads as possible to avoid me having more effort that I need to expel later on when I'm not dedicating the time to writing the ad, if that makes sense. So if it says, if this ad is still up, it's still available, sending me a message that says, hi, is this still available? I'm not going to be rude, obviously, and it will be available. So I'll say, yeah, it is. Like, are you interested or whatever? Do you have any questions? But it's going to start like the relationship off with me being like, So anyways, there's that. Just read the ads thoroughly. If there is missing information, 100%, you should have an informed decision when you're buying a piece. So ask those questions. But if the questions are already laid out, it seems like I already did that for you. I don't know what to say. Another thing too, this isn't something you have to do, but I think it's just nice common practice, because like I said, even though it's Facebook Marketplace and it's not anonymous, but it's like there's a lot of like distance between you and the seller and the buyer. So sometimes people don't extend the same common courtesies that they would if you were in somebody's store, for example, and making a purchase or whatever that looks like. But if you've been messaging back and forth with someone and then you find another piece, or you decide like it's not for you, it's not for your space, like something comes up, common courtesy is that it's nice to send a message and say, hi, so sorry, but we found another piece, or we're no longer interested, or whatever. I'm not going to be like personally, I'm not going to take it personally, and I'm not going to be offended that you're not buying my piece or anything. I'm going to appreciate the fact that if I have multiple people messaging me about it and this person says they're no longer available, that I can kind of like knock them off the list of considerations for like first in line or what have you. Because like I said, I do like to go that method. I think it's kind of fairest, and I don't want to start people like, I don't want people like rushing, like it's not first come first serve, like who can get to my house first, like have 3 people driving here to try and pick it up. But for who's messaging me, who's most serious kind of first, I like to offer it to them first. Or I'll say, I have someone else who's messaging me, they're really interested, say they could pick it up like today or tomorrow, but I wanted to offer it to you first if you are in fact interested. And I don't do that as like a way of like making people like push the button too fast on things. I like say, because I like to take this route, because I think some people do that as like a business way of like getting people to just like commit. I don't like that. Like if you're making a decision for your home and the pieces aren't cheap, they're well within the range of reasonable for the amount of work that goes into them, but I don't want you to be pulling the gun too quickly because you feel rushed into the decision because you want to be the person that gets it, if that makes sense. how many times am I gonna say, if that makes sense? But yeah, but I will extend that courtesy to you. So just don't ghost them. If you decide you're no longer interested, say, hey, thanks so much, I appreciate your time, but I'm going another route, or I'm no longer interested, or we're actually not gonna buy a new dresser, or whatever. Like, you don't even have to give you really don't even have to give an explanation. Like, you don't owe that to them, but you can just say, no longer interested, thank you. Perfect, now at least I know. So those are the ones that I had written down, but now as I start to think of it, I'm like, in terms of, because of the fact that I offer, or that I don't offer for the most part delivery, I say, here's the thing. For the most part, I definitely don't advertise it, but if there is I don't explicitly say delivery only. I say pick up in this area, like near this kind of intersecting road, these two roads, main roads. So you get an idea of the area that I'm in, so you know where you're going. But if somebody were to say, hey, I'm just curious if you would be willing to offer delivery, either for an added charge or not, if the item fits into my vehicle and I'm available and I don't have like a super packed schedule or whatever, often I will. And it's not something that I advertise necessarily, but I'd be willing to, especially if someone is just so in love with a piece, but they just don't have the means of getting it to their house. Like, I understand that. I was doing the busing life too before, like, I feel you. So pretty reasonable that way. But yeah, so I guess the thing that I would say is to ask the question, because you never know until you ask. And you can kind of word it if you feel uncomfortable in the way of saying, you know, I know it says pick up, but I'm just curious, and give me like a little spiel of why. It doesn't need to be a novel, but you know, like you never know until you ask is kind of the way that I always go about things in life. And same with, you know, negotiating the price and stuff. I often won't, but if I have a piece that is big and it's been sitting, like I don't live in a huge home, so I don't have like a specific area that's specific for just furniture pieces to sit other than the garage, but that gets really dusty. So I try not to keep finished pieces there. So in many of the rooms in my house, I just have a couple random furniture pieces that don't necessarily fit the aesthetic of that room sitting there until I get it sold. So if I'm just really eager to get rid of that thing, I might be open to negotiating, and you never know until you ask. And I'm never going to be rude about the fact that I am willing or not. Like, I would never be like, how dare you, I worked so hard on this piece and you're undermining my, like, no, I'd be like, no, unfortunately, at this point or at this time, the price is firm, and you know, take it or leave it. And some people leave it, and that's okay, because I know that I'm not willing to cut the price, and it is what it is. But you never know until you ask, and I go by that same mentality when I'm a buyer looking for pieces to refinish. You know, sometimes things are posted and I know it's been posted for a long time, or it, you know, they say in it that's priced to sell. Like, those kinds of things are different things that people will say that will indicate to me that they might be open to negotiating. And I'll say, you know, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but I'm just wondering if you'd be willing to take this amount. You know, I do furniture refinishing, and I think this is a really beautiful piece, like that has a lot of potential, but I do try and keep my costs low, and so this is why I'm asking this amount. And a lot of the time they'll just say yes, especially if it's been listed for a while, because I am mindful of when items were posted, like how long ago. If it's been like a week and they say in the ad that they want to get rid of it, to me that says that they're willing to negotiate. So worst case, like I said, they say no, and I have to determine whether I'm willing to pay a little bit more. Like, what's the potential of, once I put the effort in, like however many things need to get done to that piece, is it going to be worth my while to refinish and sell at the price that I know that I kind of sell things at? But again, you never know until you ask. So I'll cut it off there. Maybe I'll do a part 2 if things come to my mind. But those were just some of my thoughts as I sat down. And like I said, I will be doing a video about the do's and don'ts of selling furniture online, because I think, as much as I am well versed in the ways of buying furniture, like pieces that I'm going to refinish, I have probably sold more online than I have bought, because I have a few different ways that I acquire my furniture. So I have a lengthier list for that one, but maybe a little less salty too. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you're a buyer, I hope you learned something new. If you're our seller, maybe you could relate to a few of the things. If I missed anything that you're like, oh girl, you need to bring that to light, leave it in the comments below. I would love if you would subscribe to this channel. I do a lot of furniture flips, and it's some of these more chatty kind of videos, a little bit of everything over here, honestly, but always trying to educate and share tips and tricks with others. And you can also follow me on Instagram. I do a lot more over there than here. I just kind of post periodically on YouTube, but Instagram's where it's at, so it's the same, at Mel Did It Herself. And I'd love if you would join me over there. If you have any questions or anything else that you'd like to share, add it into the comments below. And thank you so much for watching. Bye!